Welcome to Chat Smart English. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English stories. I remember the first day I heard English. It was a sunny day, and I was 7 years old. My father brought home a small radio. He switched it on, and a new voice filled our home. It spoke in a language I did not understand. It was English. The words were strange, but also beautiful. I felt curious. My father noticed my interest. He smiled and said, "This is English. It is a very important language." He explained how many people around the world speak it, and from that moment, I wanted to understand it too. My first real class was with Mrs. Smith. She was the one who officially introduced me to the English alphabet. But it wasn't just about reciting ABC. Mrs. Smith had a unique way of making learning fun. Instead of using just a textbook, she brought in songs, colorful flashcards, and games. We learned the letters by singing catchy tunes, and each song made the letters come to life. I remember feeling excited every time I got a new letter right. Mrs. Smith's energy was contagious, and with every lesson I felt myself getting closer to understanding this beautiful language. It was no longer just a strange set of sounds. It was something I could learn and use. One of the most memorable parts of my journey was learning words. At first, the language felt overwhelming. There were so many new words and I struggled to keep up. But then my teacher introduced us to fun games and songs to help us remember them. We would play memory games with flashcards. Each card had a word and a picture, like apple with a bright red fruit on it. The more we played, the more words I started to recognize and recall. But the fun didn't stop there. Mrs. Smith would make up songs to teach us vocabulary. One song was about animals: dog, cat, bird, and fish. We would sing it every day, and soon enough I knew the words by heart. It wasn't just the repetition that helped me. The games made the words feel familiar, like they were part of my world, and not just something I had to memorize. I started using these words in conversations at home, even though I was still shy. But each time I used a new word, I felt a little more confident. Watching movies was another key part of my English learning journey. Family movie nights became something I looked forward to, not just for entertainment, but as an opportunity to learn. We would watch movies in English, even if I didn't understand everything at first. I would listen carefully, trying to pick up on words I recognized. At first, I needed subtitles to follow along, but over time, I began to rely less on them. There was something magical about hearing the words and connecting them to the actions on screen. The characters' emotions, their expressions, and the way they spoke helped me understand the context, even if I didn't know every word. I remember watching my favorite animated movie, where the characters spoke quickly. It was challenging to keep up, but I loved the idea of mimicking the words. I would pause and rewind scenes, repeating lines over and over. It was almost like practicing pronunciation through play. Slowly, I started speaking more clearly and confidently, just like the characters on screen. Watching movies also exposed me to different accents and regional dialects. The English I heard in the movies wasn't the same everywhere. Some characters spoke with a British accent, others with an American one, and there were even some with unique regional accents. This taught me that English was a global language, and no matter how people spoke, it was still the same language at its core. It wasn't about perfection, but about communication. Writing letters was one of the most rewarding steps in my English learning journey. It allowed me to practice not just vocabulary and grammar, but also to express myself in new ways. I started by writing letters to friends I had made online and even to family members living far away. Each letter became a way to practice my writing skills, but also a way to connect with others. In the beginning, my letters were short and simple. I would write about my day, what I had learned in school, or what movie I had watched recently. It felt like a small step, but every time I received a reply, it gave me the confidence to write more. Each new letter was an opportunity to improve. I would look up new words, try using them in different sentences, and check for mistakes. Over time, my writing began to flow more naturally, and I was able to express my thoughts clearly. Writing letters also helped me improve my grammar. I would carefully check for spelling errors and try to use the right tenses. I knew that the more I practiced, the more I would improve. But it wasn't just about improving my writing skills. it was also about building relationships. Writing in English connected me to a wider world, and each letter I sent was a small victory in my learning journey. One of the most memorable letters I wrote was to a pen pal in another country. We exchanged stories about our cultures and shared our favorite books. This exchange not only improved my writing but gave me a deeper understanding of the world. I was learning English, but I was also learning about how language connects people from different walks of life. Traveling abroad was the final and perhaps the most impactful step in my English learning journey. Immersing myself in an English-speaking environment accelerated my learning in ways I never could have imagined. For the first time, I was forced to use English in real-life situations, ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, and having casual conversations with strangers. I remember my first trip to an English-speaking country. I was nervous at first. I was used to speaking English in a classroom setting, but now I had to use it in the real world, with people who didn't know me and weren't there to correct my mistakes. It felt intimidating, but at the same time, it was an adventure. The first time I ordered a coffee in a cafe, my heart was racing. I was worried I would make a mistake, but the barista smiled and helped me with my order. This small interaction made me realize how important it was to just try. I could feel my confidence growing with every conversation. It wasn't always perfect, and I made mistakes, but that's how I learned. Traveling abroad also gave me the chance to immerse myself in the culture behind the language. I started to understand the nuances of English, not just the words, but the way they were used in different contexts. I saw how language can reflect culture, humor, and even the values of a society. It was in these moments that I truly grasped the power of English, not just as a language, but as a tool for connection. Every conversation, every interaction, was an opportunity to grow. It was through this immersion that I felt like I truly became a part of the English-speaking world. And while my journey didn't end there, it was clear to me that the best way to learn any language is to live it, breathe it, and use it every day.